But of course, I'm with my colleague Hassan Mugambi. He's well versed on these matters of security, and because like any other situation, there is need for transition. I will be handing over to him so that you can continue with him and take you through the operation as it comes to the tail end of it. But so far, Sam, Wahiga, you can say the officers have done a much better job than they did at Westgate. And Hassan, remember the Westgate scenario? That's the question that Sam Gituku is asking. Comparatively, you were here yesterday when the operation began, before you left. But when you came back and when you compare the two scenarios, Westgate and what is happening here, I'm sure you would have something to say because you are in both situations.
Well, yeah, there's a lot that it has improved in as far as the two scenarios is concerned, given that this time round it was sort of coordinated because it fell under one command, the single command of Douglas Kanja, who is the GSU commandant who took over immediately after they came here. Remember, first of all, it was the director of criminal investigation, who was the senior most cop, who came in the hours of 4 p.m. But then again, after now, the GSU officers came here, especially the Reke, who are very well versed in close quarter battle. They did take over that particular operation, and right now, with the with the breaking of the day, one ingredient that comes in very handy to them is the light. Given that we also how there was a bit of a lull when the darkness fell here, because in movement, and as far as movement is concerned in close quarter, it is usually very critical to see what it is that you're hitting at, what it is that you're shooting at. But then again, that was not able. In this case, it was both the attackers and the security officers who are sort of getting very cautious on how they're going to fire the bullets that they have, because firing in the darkness could either sell your position or leading you as a security officer to hit the wrong target. So it comes in handy.
I've also seen very many people ask questions relating to the vehicle that we saw initially there, KCN 340E, the vehicle that the attackers used to make their way here, and they abandoned there, and it also had explosives. We're getting some information that the owner of that vehicle could have been apprehended late last night. That is information we cannot be able to authoritatively qualify, but we are getting such information that the person was arrested. But even more importantly, speaking to people around here, they're saying that vehicle was not very strange around here. Actually, speaking to some hawkers here, they're saying they had spotted that vehicle several times before that, and that goes to show how coordinated this attack was by the perpetrators of this heinous attack.
Yes, it was quite coordinated, as even the IG put it yesterday in his press conference, saying that they did a very coordinated attack coming in, and having looked like they were not very strange to the building, given that up to now they haven't been found. This clearly tells you that these are people who did their prior visits to this particular establishment before the eve of the attack.
Absolutely, and without necessarily speculating too much on what could have happened, we really hope that the security officers will get to the bottom of this and try to identify if there would have been any co-perpetrators in the course of this attack, because definitely the way it was organized and the way it was executed shows a great coordination by the attackers, and it seems it's a building they were very familiar with, and they knew their way around. But let's wait and see what the officers will continue to do here. And now let me hand over this microphone to Hassan Mugambi. Take over, man.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much for holding fort during the night.
All the best.
Let's keep on keeping on and see whether indeed we will be finding more information. I'm not alone, of course. We are with Stephen Leto, who will also be joining me on set, so that we keep our ears on the ground and sort of get more information as and when we get it from here. As you can hear, if at all you can hear, there's a bit of gunfire that is going on inside inside the building. That is on the 7th floor, where the security officers are believed to have been in. Remember, the Grosenvo building that had a lot of hostages have already been removed from that particular place, safe and sound. A lot of people who are making communication via text messaging last night, saying that we are on the 5th floor of that building. They have been reached by the officers, and they were whisked away at around 3 a.m. Around 45 or 50 of them thereabout. Leto, thank you very much for joining us, and welcome on set. We'll be here, keeping our ears on the ground.
Asante sana Mugambi, and of course, before you proceed, this is a very dangerous scene where we are. Like, you had a very sporadic gunfire coming in from inside the Dusit hotel, where the attackers are being holed up. We were told, of course, that the police officers have been able to mop the entire building except the last floor, which is the 7th floor, Mugambi. It's one of the things that we've been, our team that was here overnight was able to, to go through. But when you hear gunshots of that sort, Mugambi, you've been on the front line, including even in Somalia. What comes to your mind in terms of some operation of this magnitude?
Well, it's an operational procedure. We expect that whenever there are armed officers who are inside a building trying to combat armed, criminals, there is bound to be a lot of fire that comes around, and of course we are waiting to see whether it will be a matter of them being killed in action or them being arrested and prosecuted for conviction here in the country.
Yesterday, Mugambi, we saw there was a sort of commemoration of, was it the other attack in Somalia, and the day before we had the court case that was having regarding to the Westgate attack, and we saw the judge letting to go with for lack of evidence. What do you read around that area in terms of terrorism and the judicial role in terms of allowing more evidence to be brought forward to ensure that such criminals who bring such attacks to the country are not let out there to continue terrorizing the public?
Well, it being a striking coincidence that it happens on the 3rd anniversary of the Elade attack that took place in Somalia, and just a day after a court case that saw one of the people who are alleged to have taken part in the Westgate attack being acquitted from that particular case, it sort of raises antennas. But then again, we have been cautioned from over speculating the issues around that particular this particular attack that happened, even as the Al-Shabaab claimed responsibility, though the authorities say that it is a terror attack. They have not apportioned the blame to any terror outfit that we have. So we are sort of trying to be cautious in as far as trying to link it with the Al-Shabaab terror outfit, if it has not been linked directly by the authorities here, but it has all the connotations of an Al-Shabaab terror attack. Remember, it is quite and Wahiga and Sam back in studio, it is quite a deja vu, given having covered the Westgate Mall attack, that we were approximately 300 meters from the mall itself, and even here right now we are approximately 300 meters from Dusit at this junction where the Riverside Drive and Chiromo lane meet.
Absolutely, Mugambi. And remember, by last evening at 10 p.m. we had several casualties being taken to several hospitals across the city, including MP Shah, Aga Khan Avenue Hospital in Parklands, as well as the Kenyatta National Hospital, the referral hospital that was particularly receiving some of the serious cases from this particular scene. 17 casualties were taken to Avenue hospital where all were treated except 5 who were not let to go home and were admitted in that hospital until now. And of course, a same situation in MP Shire where 6 casualties were admitted, and of course one was a lady who passed on late upon arrival at the hospital, and 5 are still receiving treatment in care at the Kenyatta National Hospital. 5 were still receiving treatment until last night. But Mugambi, what we understand is during this operation during the night, a lot of people were being evacuated from inside the Dusit 2 hotel where the attackers are being held up, and we are not aware whether they are still hostages. But what we are aware is those who were who joined their families until even 3 a.m. this morning, including your friend who was inside there. We saw that some of them were also taken to hospital. So we expected that there is a huge number of people who have been taken to hospital just for out of shock, and even those who might have had injuries during this particular exchange between the police officers as well as the attackers. And so there was also the issue of blood appeal by all the hospitals. By last evening, all the blood banks were full because of how Kenyans came out to assist in terms of giving the blood. And so the blood banks were full, and they were asked to come this following morning. And so we expect a lot of people again trooping to the hospitals, MP Shire, Aga Khan, as well as Kenyatta National Hospitals and Avenue Hospital to donate blood in aid of this particular disaster that has befallen us last evening.
Stephen Leto and Hassan.
The appeal for Kenyans to continue.
No, Hassan and Leto, if you can hear me. We can see that the images behind you, there are several police officers who are taking cover. I just don't know what's happening there. But even as you consider that, we are getting new information from the Interior Ministry that overnight 174 people have been rescued. That is overnight. Since last night, the Interior Ministry reports that 174 people have been rescued from that complex. I just don't know what's happening behind you. Are you able to decipher what the situation is, Hassan?
Well, there's a bit of gunfire that is coming from the top of the building, and of course, having the training to exercise caution, they are taking cover so that they can be they can stay out of harm's way or from the arc of fire that there is. So maybe, just maybe, the fire is coming from the building towards their direction, and that is exactly why the officers are taking cover. And that is the GSU deputy commandant. We have seen him there just making his way out of the scene. Remember, this is a scene that was taken over by the command of the GSU under the single command of Douglas Kanja, who is the GSU commandant, having taken over the operation and sort of coordinated from a single central communication command from here. So we'll be keeping our ears on the ground to see whether what exactly was happening from there when you saw the officers taking cover. Sam.
And Hassan, the final question I want to ask you for now, as you go to look for new information, we were told that there's one attacker who was a suicide bomber, and from the CCTV footage that we saw, apparently there are 4 men that are making access into the Dusit complex. Is this person who committed the suicide bomber, or rather attacker, what is the word? Is he part of the 4, or is a separate person, maybe who was following a different route?
Having taken a look at the CCTV footage, Sam, we are not aware whether the moment as that the CCTV was being recorded, that is the timing. We will have to look at the time, because whether the explosion had already gone off at that particular time, if and only if the explosion had taken off, had gone off at that particular time when the attack, when the CCTV caught up with those guys making their way into the Dusit hotel, then we would say that there were at least 5. But then again, if it was prior to that recording that happened with the CCTV, then we can say there are at least 4 attackers in the area. The area also having 2 entrances and 2 exits. We do not know what the CCTV from the rest of the entrances had recorded, so we cannot stand and confirm with certainty that there were only 4 of them. That's why it is safe to say at least 4. At least we saw 4, so it is at least 4 people. So we do not know whether indeed it happened before the explosion or after the explosion, but what we know for sure is one person blew himself up.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much for that, Hassan, and let's